This is my MX650 front suspension upgrade. I'm going to do a walk around for you of it completed, and then I'll take you on the journey how I got there. Here it is finished, except I have to put a fender on, but I'm not sure when I'm going to do that. Upgraded handlebars, upgraded 1 1/8 inch front end, mountain bike front end, forks, new rim, new disc brakes, 1800 watt motor, lithium, 48 volt lithium battery. Should be pretty fun to ride. Now let's go back to the beginning and I can walk you through how I got here. I built up these MX650s, upgraded rear shocks, upgraded motor, lithium battery, handlebars. So I've got it to the point where the only thing that I'd really want to do with it is replace the front end. These front ends are very heavy, they're clunky, the suspension's horrible, so I'm looking for a different option for it. Okay, I want to replace the front end of this. This is just the frame of a MX650. I want to replace the frame of it, or replace the front end of it. So I'm looking at taking some measurements here. So this overall, the overall length here of this is 174 millimeters. It's about 175 millimeters. It looks like 6.86 inches. So that's from, let's do that again. Yeah, 6.86 inches from there to there. Now, if you look, these have this inside shaft here is raised a little bit to support that weight, so that whole piece spins in that bearing. And if you do it to that, that is 6.94. So we're looking at about 7 inches, here in terms of that overall collar length, And then the inside diameter of this bearing, I'll do it actually as the outside diameter of the shaft. The shaft is, let's see, shaft is 0.389 inches, but let's look at that in millimeters, which would be, it's a 10 millimeter shaft. Looks like a 10 millimeter shaft. Okay, so it's a 10 millimeter shaft. I don't think you're going to get a triple clamp that uses a 10 millimeter shaft, so you may have to just replace the bearings here. So this outside diameter of the bearings is 34.5, so it's about 34 millimeters outside diameter of that bearing. I might not have it exactly in the center. I should probably do here. Yeah, it might be 35 millimeters, or I'll change that to inches too. Yeah, 1.37 inches. So I'll look at, see if I can find a triple clamp that will mount onto there, and then get a whole front end that will fit there. One thing I noticed here that may actually help us is there was a fitting that was slid inside there, and if you pull that out, it's a little bit bigger center there for the bearing. So and that you might be able to find a triple clamp with a shaft that fits that. I went ahead and did that inside diameter. That's 14.68. It's probably 15 millimeter inside diameter. I would bet I'll try to measure that again here, but and then looking at that in inches, it's 0.57 inches, so it's probably a millimeter measurement. I'll do the outside diameter of this here really quick just to see. Yeah, looks like it's 15 millimeters. So if we find a 15 millimeter shaft, that might, a triple clamp with a 15 millimeter shaft, that might pop right in. Measurement I wanted to take just on the MX650, the overall fork length, and that is to the eye here. That is about 21.5 inches, or 55 centimeters. And so, we want something definitely longer than that, but not too much longer. The headset, I've researched everything, like looking at motorcycle front ends, looking at 50, like CRF 50 front ends, everything. Nothing fits except it looks like a bicycle front end. So if we get like a serious downhill front fork, which I bought, looks like it might fit. So just to explain why, if you look at this inside diameter here, if we can pop out these bearings, which I'll do, this is this inside diameter is about 34 millimeters, and this is the a bicycle headset. It's about 34 millimeters as well. So I'm hoping that just pops right in there. If it pops in there, then we can put a straight 1/1/8 headset in here. Now this is pretty long, so you don't want to get a used one that's cut. So we'll have to get one that I think this is 7 inches here. You have to have 7 inches, and then room up here for the other pieces. But if we can make that fit, then we can get a nice beefy, lightweight, like a downhill forks, which I have purchased, and fit that in here. See, there's a sleeve in here which will actually help us pop these bearings out. I'm just going to use this socket extension and put this in here and try to pop it out, and we'll see if these give. Okay, so here were the pieces that fit in here, and so I popped those out. I just used a bolt and then fit it down on this thing and popped it out. Just hammering it with a hammer. And then now we can test to see, this is the headset from a bicycle, and it fits right in there. Now there's a little bit of play in it, which we'll have to address somehow with the shim. We really don't want that moving, but there's a little bit of play, but I think overall that should fit nicely, and this should be a workable solution. So we'll have to figure out how to get that play out of there, but that headset should fit right in there. Okay, so here's the issue. The outside diameter of this bearing is 35 millimeters, and let me check. I think the outside diameter of this, look at this. Yeah. The outside diameter of that head is 34 millimeters. So we're 1 millimeter off, and so we're gonna have to find a way to shim that, or find a solution for that. Okay, I just happen to have this galvanized piece of sheet metal here, and I measured the thickness of it is 0.44 millimeters. So if I create a circular shim around this hole, and which does have a little lip there to hold it, if I just create a circular shim around that, it should just about make up the 1 millimeter gap. So I'm going to try that. Okay, I won't bore you with the geometry, but you want that to be 109 meters long. That was 109 millimeters, not 109 meters. And then this is about 10 millimeters. You might go 11 millimeters high, and then we'll cut that strip. Now this is what the piece looks like. I did cut a little bit out of this gap, about maybe 3 millimeters out of that gap. It was just, and it's really round now. It's because I pushed it in and actually pulled it out just so I could show you again. it's a little bit difficult to get it in the first time. You know, probably took me 20 minutes of, you know, trying to get it really round. And then at the end of the day, what I did is I put it in. I can't do it now because it fits so well now, but I put it in basically part way, and then this would fit inside it. And then I took the whole thing and took a block of wood, just set it on top of there as flat as I could, and pounded it in, and it fit perfect. I might be able to press it in now, but it fit perfect, and that's not going anywhere. So once you pound that in, it's perfect. It's perfect fit with that little shim. Top one pounded in, and yeah, that thing's not going anywhere, and perfect fit. So yeah, you can definitely get a 1 1/8 inch headset with just a little shim. Okay, and here's the, you know, that thing's not moving at all. And here's the bottom one as well. There's, you know, it's not coming out, let alone any play in that. So with the shim, the little shims, you can definitely get a 1 1/8 inch headset on here. Okay, so here it is. One thing to note, you really got to look at, I think this is 9 inches here. I'll measure this again, but I think that's 9 inches. So you can't buy a used fork, because almost all used forks will be cut. And look how little room we have up here. So this will probably barely cut this. But you definitely can't use one that's already been cut, because you wouldn't have enough room. But yeah, it'll definitely 1 1/8. This is our SR Sun Tour fork. It's not a bad fork. It's not top of the line, but this will be way better than these garbage forks that they have here. Those are just springs in there. Really bad forks. This is a nice. It's got air on one side, oil on the other, fully adjustable, and much lighter as well. So. Okay, I've got the head pretty much installed, and had to use a little bit of spacer here. I didn't cut it at all. I just chose to use spacers instead, and there just really wasn't that much room, so I couldn't justify cutting it. And yeah, everything installs pretty easily. The only thing I will say is this bumper right here, I'm gonna have to move this down because these are a little lower and they cut over here. So I'll move that down. But goes together pretty well. I'm not going into how I set all this up. This is just mountain biking stuff. There's lots of YouTube videos on that. So okay, as you can see, this that rubber stop doesn't stop anymore because these are a little bit lower. So I'm just going to take this mark on this frame where that stop should be, and then we actually have to take this off to unscrew this this bolt in here, and then we'll remount it, and then put the forks back on. Okay, so this piece here was held on by this bolt, and we're gonna we'll put that back in here and put some of this blue Loctite on it, so it just, I don't like open holes in the frame, so moisture gets in there and stuff. So we'll close that out by putting this back in there. And then I have these self-tapping screws, and we'll use these, and they drill. I've used these before. They drill into this frame pretty nice and hold really tight. So we'll put that in there. But to do that, this hole isn't quite big enough, so we'll have to, I'm using a half inch drill to drill that hole out. So we'll have room to slide this in. You don't want to drill it all the way through, obviously, but you need to make the hole a little bigger, and you need enough room to get a socket on there as well. So hopefully a half inch will be able to if we drill this out 1/2 inch, we can be able to put this socket in here and screw this nut in. And again, we could just it'll drill into this metal and then screw in and self-tapping, so should work pretty well. I ended up using a 5/8 blade socket or blade bit, and it looked. I set this up just like this. It helps to have it on a piece of wood so that the tip of that bit can go into the wood and help guide it. But that works pretty well. And then you have this socket will fit nicely in there and be able to drive this guy in there. The socket I use, I didn't use that, but the one I showed you, but the socket I used, and drilled in there just fine. It holds super tight. Now you can see this stops just fine. Okay, getting ready to set the front brake. Set up the front brake here. Just one thing, the front brake is on the right here, which is opposite of a bicycle. This is a motorcycle setup, so really simple. Just slip it on and tighten it to install the brakes. I think it's really simple, actually. I think you just screw it into the post. This is the first time I've ever installed mountain bike brakes like this. And then I think you install it with the two bolts loosely, and then squeeze the brake to center it, and then let go and tighten it up. I'm going to do a little test drive here on everything set up. Reason I wanted to test drive, I actually did one earlier. So I wanted to see. I haven't bought handlebars yet because I don't want. I'm not sure how high I want them, but I test drove it. I think these are too high with this being higher shocks. So I think I'm going to get some lower ones, but we'll see what my son Joshua thinks. And have just everything taped up and everything. This has the 1800 watt kit on it as well. What do you think?
It has a lot of kick to it.
Yeah, I think it's a little too torquey. Now, what about the handlebars? I think lower and spread out more. Don't you think? So you're leaning forward a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're too high.
I think I'll get some lower ones. Lower ones and wider. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. When you went off the curb, how are the shocks? The suspension?
Yeah, the suspension is good. I think the front ones are a little tight.
A little stiff?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can adjust them. All right. Okay, I needed to lower the bars and widen them out just to make it, for one, you lean forward so much because it kicks, that motor has a lot of kick. So lowered it down. I also put this placard on, and just zip tied it to the top and bottom, drilled some holes, zip tied it to the top and bottom, and holds pretty well. Of course, put the logo of my beer league hockey team on, which is White Lightning, and it looks pretty good, and it feels pretty good. Much better when you're leaning more forward and your arms are wider.
See if you can roll. See if you can roll down the hill. Keep going. Nice. Good job. It's an impressive roll. So you girls up to obviously going to dance, and then you had school. How was that?
Here it is finished, except I have to put a fender on, but not sure when I'm going to do that. Upgraded handlebars, upgraded 1 1/8 inch front end, mountain bike front end forks, new rim, new disc brakes, 1800 watt motor, lithium, 48 volt lithium battery. Should be pretty fun to ride.